Once upon a time, in the realm of virtual and reality, there was Takuma, the quintessential shut-in extraordinaire. His life revolved around two things: online gaming and binge-watching anime recaps. But here's the kicker. Within the digital world of cross-reverie, he was no mere mortal. Oh no, he was Diablo, the demon lord, an absolute legend in the gaming cosmos, and the undisputed champion of the realm. Now hang on to your hats, because one day, when you'd least expect it, Takuma's life takes a mind-boggling twist. He wakes up in an alternate universe. And guess who he's become? Yup, you guessed it, Diablo himself, the demon lord. But here's the best part. He gets summoned by not one but two girls who pucker up for a smooch as part of their summoning ritual. Talk about an unconventional welcome, right? But the real shocker is yet to come. Thanks to his nifty ring that says, nope, to all magical spells, those two girls are now his summoned slaves. Yes, they are the ones in chains and not the other way around. Recognizing that he's somehow landed in the universe of his favorite online game, Takuma decides to fully embrace the persona of Diablo. I mean, who wouldn't? He's now a chat demon lord, despite secretly being a nerdy recluse who rarely ventured beyond his gaming cave. How's that for a plot twist? After a bit of squabbling, our two lovely ladies decide it's time to get to know their new overlord. The elf, sweet as can be, introduces herself as Shira. Meanwhile, the cat girl is, well, a bit less thrilled and mumbles her name, Rem. As for Diablo, he's absolutely not about to spill the beans on his true identity as a socially awkward shut-in. Nope, he's all about maintaining the grand facade of the almighty demon lord. Shira's over the moon about it, thinking she's scored a jackpot by summoning the big boss himself. So, they hit the town, and the trio decides to shack up in an inn. But here comes the awkward cherry on top. The room comes with just one bed due to some tight finances. Diablo's anxiety meter starts beeping, especially when he spots a crowd in the inn. It's not his gaming cave anymore, that's for sure. To make things even more interesting, Celestine, the head honcho of the Mage Association, shows up and wants a chat with Rem. And what do you know? Diablo's jaws drop to the floor as he recognizes Celestine as a big shot from the cross-reverie game. That night, at the inn's cafeteria, Diablo's patience level is at an all-time low. He's like, "Get to the point, Celestine." But oh, here comes Galak, one of Celestine's crew, with a little reminder to mind his manners. Diablo's internally a bit freaked out by Galak, but he's not about to back down. Instead, he goes full-on Demon Lord mode and gives Galak a piece of his mind about watching his language. Talk about bravado. After Celestine and Rem have their little chat and she takes off with her entourage, Diablo's got his detective hat on. He's got a hunch that Rem's hiding some secrets, and he's not about to whip out the rubber hose. Nope, he's going for a gentler approach. Meanwhile, Shira's just pretending not to notice, chomping on her food. So, they get back to their room, and Diablo turns on the charm to get Rem to spill the beans. Finally, she cracks and confesses her secret. Get this. The demon lord Krebskulm was sealed inside her from day one. Celestine is the only one who knows about it. They've been trying to find a way to get Krebskulm out and take her down without harming Rem, but they're drawing a blank. When Diablo hears this, he's all like, "I got you, fam!" He vows to help find a solution, and that gets Rem all choked up. It's the first time anyone's been willing to go to bat for her. They decide to jump into the Adventurers Guild and start taking on quests. But there's a hiccup when they try to measure Diablo's level. The gadget goes haywire, and suddenly, dark energy is spreading throughout the city, like a not-so-fun party trick. This mess gets the attention of Sylvie, the guildmaster, who calls them to her office. She explains that Diablo's level is so off the charts that there are no suitable job requests for him. But Diablo's all about the rewards, so he's game for anything. Sylvie tosses them their first quest: take down a fearsome snake in the man-eating woods. So off they go, but guess what? They're ambushed by a group of elves who've got the wrong end of the stick. They think Diablo's some kind of slave trader who's got Shira, the royal elf princess, wrapped around his little finger. Bows and arrows at the ready, they're out to rescue her and drag her back home. But Shira's having none of it. She's putting her foot down and saying no to her brother's creepy plan to marry her and make her pop out some little elf babies. The elves launch a full-scale attack on Diablo, shooting a mega-powerful Tempest arrow his way. But to their shock, it doesn't do a darn thing. Diablo stands there like a boss, not even flinching. Then, he decides it's payback time, and he unleashes a spell that turns the entire forest into a frigid, icy wasteland. The elves are left shivering and probably rethinking their life choices. Just when you think things can't get crazier, out pops Galak from the woodwork. He gives the elves a solid scolding for being so utterly ineffective. Diablo puts 2 and 2 together and figures out that Galak cooked up a fake quest to lure him into this ambush. It totally backfired though, and Diablo makes it clear that crossing his path is not a good idea. Next day, Diablo and She-Ra get a quest from Celestine to deliver snacks to the gods at the bridge of Ulag, but Rem's not feeling it. She'd rather not work for Celestine. As they're heading out, they run into Emil, who's this self-proclaimed level 50 superhuman, all about defending women's honor. He's convinced She-Ra and Rem are Diablo's unwilling servants and challenges the Demon Lord to a duel, promising to free the so-called enslaved maidens. But Diablo, he's just thrilled to meet the legendary hero destined to defeat the Demon Lord. The showdown begins, and it's clear that Emil's in way over his head. He's like a kitten trying to take on a lion. No scratches on Diablo, and Emil's getting nowhere. Diablo and She-Ra, though, continue on their quest. They finally make it to the bridge of Ulag, and guess what? One of the guards spots Diablo and recognizes him as the horned demon that everyone's been gossiping about in town. The guard spills the beans that a massive fallen army is marching their way, and the guards are as useful as wet cardboard without Diablo's help. Our hero steps up and volunteers to defend the bridge. The fallen army arrives, trying to stare him down, but Diablo's having none of it. He systematically takes them out, one by one. But just when things are looking good, Edelgard, the big cheese among the fallen, steps in for a tango with Diablo. Despite her strength, she's like a gnat against a windshield, no match for him. Diablo's trying to be the reasonable one and asks her to surrender, hoping to end the battle without going all out and draining his mana. But Edelgard's stubborn as a mule. She revs up a massive attack and charges at him, and Diablo's like, "Bring it on!" No dodging, just taking it head on. The crowd is absolutely stunned by Diablo's mind-boggling strength. Even Edelgard can't believe her eyes, so Diablo decides to get serious and lets loose his supposedly weak White Nova spell on the bridge. But here's the kicker. That seemingly weak spell turns out to be a powerhouse. It obliterates the area around the bridge, and even a hefty chunk of the bridge itself. To everyone's astonishment, Edelgard somehow survives the whole shebang. Now 10 days later, Diablo's recharging his mana, and the girls are back to their playful bickering. But then, Guildmaster Sylvie storms in with some major news. The Royal Elven Kingdom sent a threat their way. Hand over She-Ra in 10 days, or get ready for a full-scale war. Turns out She-Ra's dear brother, Kira, has put a juicy bounty on her head. Diablo's not thrilled about any of this. He's boiling mad and decides to lend a hand to She-Ra. They cross paths with Chester, the Lord of the City, who's all about preventing that war. She-Ra's not planning to return to the Elven Kingdom, and Chester assigns Alicia, an Imperial Knight, to team up with them. That evening, at the inn, Kira makes an appearance and apologizes for the bounty stunt he pulled. He's doing his best to convince She-Ra to come back, but she's as resolute as a mountain, sticking to her decision not to return. Things get a little heavy as Diablo decides to step in and give Kira a good scare. Kira decides to make a run for it, but insists that She-Ra will come back to him of her own free will. That night, Diablo has a nightmare from his childhood that dredges up some not-so-pleasant memories. He remembers how his supposed friends used him to get better gear in a game, and then abandoned him. Ouch. The next day, while Rem and Alicia are busy with their own stuff, Diablo spends the day making potions with She-Ra. But out of the blue, a mysterious flute sound puts She-Ra in a trance. She tells Diablo she wants to return home and just starts walking away. She climbs into Kira's wagon and takes off. Poor Diablo's left feeling abandoned once again, and he's moping all day. But wait, there's a twist. Rem and Alicia figure out that She-Ra was hypnotized and start planning a way to rescue her. Meanwhile, Kira's got She-Ra locked up in his tent and starts grilling her about her relationship with Diablo. She insists that Diablo didn't do anything inappropriate, but Kira's not buying it. Suddenly, there's a massive explosion outside, and guess who's back in the nick of time? Diablo to the rescue. They manage to free She-Ra from her restraints, but Kira's not giving up without a fight. He uses that hypnotic flute to make She-Ra falsely claim that she wants to stick with him. Diablo steps in though and uses his authority as the master of her collar to force her to spill the beans. Tearfully, She-Ra admits that she wants to stay with Diablo and Rem. At first, Diablo's all set to deal out some punishment to Kira, but She-Ra's not having it and pleads for her brother's life. Diablo relents, but out of nowhere, Chester shows up and takes matters into his own hands. He straight up beheads Kira. And guess what? Chester's true colors start showing. He had a secret plan all along to conquer the Elven Kingdom. Chester then tries to take out Diablo, but our Demon Lord's got a trick up his sleeve. He fires off a lightning bullet spell just in time, defeating Chester and winning the day. After all that drama, Alicia threatens to report Chester's unethical actions to the king, and he's forced to surrender and pull his troops out. The gang also patches up the elf troops with potions and consoles She-Ra, as she deals with the loss of her brother. The next day, Alicia bumps into Sadler, a cocky paladin who's investigating Diablo because of rumors about the demon lord's revival by a local river. Meanwhile, She-Ra and Rem decide to take a bath together, but Diablo's like, no thanks. Suddenly, Edelgard shows up and snatches Rem. She claims she's not there for a brawl, but to check if Rem really houses Demon Lord Krebskulm. Edelgard spills the beans that in 3 days, there's a ritual at Starfall Tower to extract Krebskulm without harming Rem. After some back and forth, the gang agrees to go along with Edelgard's plan, but Diablo's still scratching his head about what to do once Krebskulm is out. 3 days later, Alicia returns to town and warns the gang about Sadler. They all head to Starfall Tower to set Krebskulm free from Rem. When they get there, Edelgard reveals that to release Krebskulm, Diablo has to infuse his magical energy into Rem. Awkward! But he sucks it up and manages to break Krebskulm's seal. So, when they finally let Krebskulm out, this massive, gnarly demon pops up. But then, whoosh, it turns into an adorable little girl. But there's a catch. She's got amnesia and doesn't remember how to do her demon lord stuff. She-Ra, in a stroke of genius, offers her some cookies. And boom, Krebskulm's smitten with the sweet treats. Suddenly, she's not so keen on obliterating all mortals anymore. Alicia's like, what the heck? But Edelgard is Team Krebskulm all the way and rolls with it. They even change her name to Clem to avoid a public freakout and head back to town. Meanwhile, Alicia has a deep chat in her room, reflecting on her tough life and upbringing. She's all like, I'm going to follow the Demon Lord's creed and erase the mortals. Later, when Diablo and She-Ra are away, Alicia pulls a major betrayal. She hands Rem and Clem over to Sadler, who arrests them. Her evil plan? Traumatize Clem until she goes back to Demon Lord mode. Sadler takes them to a church for some hardcore questioning, while Diablo and She-Ra scramble to find them in town. A ginormous fallen army is marching right for the city. At the church, Clem tries to protect Rem, but when Sadler goes after her, Rem takes the hits to save Clem. She gets skewered several times, and that sends Clem over the edge, back to her original Demon Lord form. She's seething with anger and goes on a rampage, taking down Sadler and wrecking the church. Diablo and She-Ra show up just in time, but they find Rem lifeless. Diablo gives She-Ra all the potions he's got and tells her to heal Rem, while he gets ready to face off with Clem. Outside the city, Edelgard and her enormous army of Fallen are over the moon about Krebskulm's full return. But here's the twist. Alicia's there too, and she's the mastermind behind this whole plot to resurrect the Demon Lord. Meanwhile, She-Ra's patching up Rem with potions, and Diablo's doing his best to dodge Clem's attacks while setting trap spells. As Rem slowly wakes up, Emil swoops in to shield the girls from falling debris. So, Diablo sets his traps and throws a powerful spell at Krebskulm, causing some serious damage, but not taking her down entirely. But here's the twist. When Krebskulm sees that Rem is safe and sound, her determination wavers, and she turns back into Clem. Outside the city, the Fallen Army isn't too thrilled with Alicia for her failed Demon Lord resurrection plan. Edelgard sacrifices herself to let Alicia escape. Then Sylvie finds Diablo and his crew and thanks them for stopping the Demon Lord. But she's got a hunch that Clem is really Krebskulm, and she's all, this kid's too dangerous. So Diablo decides to enslave Clem to make sure she can't cause trouble again, sealing the deal with a kiss. The next day, She-Ra and Rem are like, hey, what about us? They want a kiss too, feeling it's unfair that Clem got one. But Diablo's like, I'm a Chad Demon Lord, and I do what I want. Not at all, because he's just too awkward for it, right?